Movies, music. Hola, mis amigos de YouTube. Yo soy Elon Osborne, and this is my channel where I talk about movies, audio, and music. And today I'm reviewing the Costco exclusive Klipsch Cinema 700 soundbar, a 3.1 soundbar system that fits snugly between the Cinema 600 and 800 soundbars. But let's be honest, it's basically a Cinema 800 with some minor cosmetic differences. I have a more detailed video about the differences between the 600, 700, and 800, as well as an unboxing video. So feel free to check those out if you haven't already. I will say this up front for this review, Klipsch was very kind in sending me a 3.1 system to review. So thank you very much, Klipsch. But this system is compatible with the 3s if you want to expand it to a full 5.1 system. But this review is only for the 3.1 system, so with that out of the way, let's dive straight into the setup. Like most soundbars, the setup is pretty friggin' easy. And honestly, I'd say it's even easier than some, since all Klipsch subwoofers come prepared to their soundbars or speaker systems. So all I had to worry about was hooking up the soundbar itself to the TV. And of course that is done simply by connecting the provided HDMI cable to the port on the back labeled HDMI out, and plugging the other end into the TV's HDMI input labeled eARC. For whatever reason, when I turned on the soundbar for the first time, the volume shown on the front display said 99. So that was a little alarming. So I definitely turned that down just in case it was going to decide to play audio at full blast. Now, this soundbar is Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Google Home, and Alexa compatible, as well as with the Klipsch Connect app. I've gotten a few comments on my channel regarding the Cinema 700 that have said not all the features that I was mentioning were available on the Klipsch Connect app. So before you proceed with your own Cinema 700 or any other Klipsch Connect compatible device, make sure you have the most up-to-date version of Klipsch Connect. And on top of that, someone else was asking about the firmware updates on the Cinema 700. There is a very convoluted way to do that involving a USB flash drive, making sure it's formatted to FAT32, yada yada yada. But once again, the easiest way to make sure you have the latest firmware version at all times is to connect the soundbar to your Wi-Fi network. That way it always checks for the latest firmware version even when it's not being used. It does mention that it could update a version of firmware automatically overnight, so you don't even have to do anything. But I guess I'll leave a link in the description for those who want to do it with a flash drive. Anywho, doing the next few steps within the Klipsch Connect app makes the process so much easier. So once I'm in the app, it asks how I'm liking the app. Oh, that's nice. Happy face. Would you like to rate the app? Maybe later. Can't you see I'm in the middle of a review here? Jeez. Tap that plus button in the upper right corner, which gives you a list of a bunch of compatible devices. Scroll down to the Cinema 700 soundbar and tap on it. It wants to connect to Bluetooth, but honestly, we'll come back to that. Hit next, which brings you to this screen where we can connect to Wi-Fi. Or you can plug directly into the interwebs with an Ethernet cable, which I think is a fantastic option if you're set up to do that. But in my case, I'm nowhere near an Ethernet port, so I'll go with Wi-Fi by tapping on it, then choosing my Wi-Fi network from the available list that auto-populates, enter your Wi-Fi password, connecting, and success. Now, give your product a name. I'll just take out these silly numbers and letters on the end and just call it Cinema 700. Yeah, next. Amazon Alexa? Sure, tap on that, connect to Amazon Alexa. You are registering Alexa on a device that has not been tested by Amazon. I'll just continue anyway. Sign in to Amazon using my usual login credentials, then tap allow. Boom, tap on done, then done again. Next, you might want to register the product, but for this review, we'll just skip it. And yeah, let's go into the quick start guide. Okay, now let's connect to Bluetooth by holding down the Bluetooth button on the provided remote for 3 seconds, or hold down the input button on the top of the soundbar, which causes the display on the soundbar to flash BT pairing. Now, go to your phone settings, Bluetooth, and search for Cinema 700 in the list of available devices. There it is. Tap on that and boom, connected. Okay, back to the quick start guide. We have some more handy little infographics that help you set up the bar if you are having any questions later on, or you change the location of the soundbar, etc. If you have an older TV, you can still get digital audio to it with an optical cable as seen here, then choosing the digital source. Another awesome feature is that it has not one, but 2 HDMI inputs for external devices connecting directly into the soundbar. So it's kind of like a mini receiver in that sense. I have my Xbox One S plugged into it since I wanted to test some 4K Blu-rays, playing audio directly through the soundbar and not just through eARC from the TV. Okay, now we have a menu! Night mode reduces the volume and bass output of the louder scenes while keeping the quiet dialogue-only scenes loud enough to hear if you happen to be watching a show or a movie after the kids go to bed. There is night mode 1 and 2, which just varies the amount of volume reduction on those loud parts. Or you can just have it off. Remote gives you quick access to several settings all in one convenient place. Sound mode gives you several different options of audio processing like standard, direct, game, movie, music, and party. Dialogue mode enhances the dialogue if you need a bit more clarity to hear what people are saying. Sub-level adjusts the subwoofer naturally, and you can raise the volume, and when listening to music, skip to previous track, pause, play, and skip to next track. Back to the main menu, the input button shows you all the various input sources and streaming services. Settings gives you some of the options you've already seen, but a few more, like LED brightness, product information, and registration. A help button that allows you to access the quick start guide, product manual, how-to and FAQs, and contact support directly from the app. Pretty nifty. And lastly, this little button that says flat is referring to the EQ presets. Going in, we see that we can adjust bass, mid, and treble. Flat means everything is at 0, but you can choose presets like vocal, bass, rock, and custom. It's not the greatest parametric EQ tool, but at least you have something to make some slight tweaks. And I like to at least have that option. Wow, I would rather have too many options than not enough. So I'm all about what Klipsch has done with their Connect app. But now, that brings us to how do they sound? I'll start with the various sound processing modes. Standard mode is okay, nothing special about it, hence the name standard. Direct means that there is no processing whatsoever and it keeps the audio reproduction true to the original source material, so that's cool. Game, I believe, puts an emphasis on sound effects, but I honestly couldn't tell what it was trying to enhance. Movie made the dialogue just a tad brighter and fuller bass extension. Music did help with the vocals especially, and Party boosted the bass significantly, which is perfect because when listening to music at a party, you want to hear that bass thump. But also, it gives you that excuse not to talk to Gary, who never has anything interesting to say. Sorry, I can't hear you over this bass. Woo! The dialogue modes definitely change the vocal presence in movies and TV shows, but I wouldn't say it improves the dialogue. At least not all of them. It has a scale from 0 to 3, where 0 is no dialogue enhancement and 3 is lots of enhancement. I actually liked it on dialogue 1. It gave it just a slight boost in sibilance, so it sizzled a tad more. But 2 and 3 sounded very unnatural and clearly overprocessed. But that's just me. Maybe you in particular need a clarity boost and don't mind the processing sound it has. Awesome. Tailor it to your needs, since your home theater just needs to sound good to you. Now, out of the box, the overall sound was lacking in the mid-range, but luckily I can go into the Klipsch Connect app and boost those mids in the EQ settings. But even then, the highs were crystal clear and shimmering, the lows were bombastic from that 10-inch downward firing sub, but in between, I don't know, man. It left me wanting more and seemed like something was a tad off. Now, the longer I watched, I didn't notice it as much because my brain acclimated to it. Brains are pretty freaking cool, man, just saying. But I do have to praise that subwoofer, since that's what puts the cinema into this series of soundbars. Even this 3.1 system can sound big, and it still retains a pretty big sound at louder volumes. But now, I want to touch on something that bugs me a little. I think I'm going to dedicate a more detailed discussion in its own video soon, but here's the quick version. I'm not exactly a fan of how the words Dolby Atmos have been slapped on so many home theater products these days. It's causing a little bit of confusion. This soundbar is 3.1, meaning it has left, center, and right speakers within the bar itself, along with a subwoofer. But it is sophisticated enough to be able to decode Dolby Atmos. Okay, fine. It can handle 8K video pass-through and eARC, which is great for future-proofing. These are all wonderful things. But decoding Atmos is not the same as getting a true Atmos experience. You have to have a height aspect in order for it to be truly Atmos. You need that Z-axis to create a cube or a dome of audio around you. This soundbar does support the wireless surrounds that Klipsch offers, but that would still only be a 5.1 setup. You still don't have any height aspect involved. Although I will say that when I was testing out this soundbar watching Aquaman, there were some surprising pseudo surround effects that caught me off guard. Like when the tidal wave hits Arthur when he's in the truck with his dad and there's water swirling all around them, it almost seemed like there were surrounds at times to my sides. Or when they enter the cave where King Atlan tells them of the prophecy or whatever, and Arthur yells, "This is badass!" The reverb on his voice bounced all around my master bedroom. So maybe there is some technical trickery or purposeful delay going on inside the soundbar on certain effects that tried their hardest to mimic an Atmos soundstage. But ultimately, a 3.1 system can't hold a candle to a system with upward firing speakers like on a Sonos ARC, Sony HT-A9, or even the Klipsch Cinema 1200. So even though the audio reproduction of the Cinema 700 is impressive, it just pains me to see Dolby allowing any product that can decode Atmos to have that be its selling point, even though it's not really a true Atmos experience. Because I'll be honest, when dealing with the 3.1 or even 5.1 system, it's not like decoding Atmos sounds any better than decoding other Dolby digital codecs, because you're not dealing with speakers actively bouncing audio off the ceiling to create that dome. Make sense? One last thing, if you saw my other videos regarding the Cinema 700, you know that this is basically a Cinema 800, but it's a Costco exclusive version of it. But you may have noticed that the trademark Klipsch horns on the Cinema 800 have been covered up by black cloth on the Cinema 700. So just a fair warning for those who have to have those horn-loaded speakers visible on either side, you're not going to get it with this soundbar. Unless, I guess, you just cut the fabric off. Once you purchase it, you can do whatever you want, really. So who is this soundbar for? Well, for those who love Klipsch, who want the versatility and ease of use with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, Alexa, Google connectivity, who want this to last a while with its 8K video pass-through and support for eARC, but is it even worth $649 on Costco.com? Well, even though the sound is large given its 48-inch width, I was a little disappointed with the lack of mid-range punch. But if it was on sale, oh, for sure, I'd snag that in a heartbeat. It's a great, easy solution to upgrade from crappy TV speakers or a little 2.1 soundbar. Having that center channel speaker really does improve dialogue clarity. And I'm sure Costco will drop the price once or twice during this holiday shopping season. So get those price alerts going right now.
And there you have it.
Thank you for joining me on this review of the Cinema 700 soundbar from Klipsch. Is it on your home theater / holiday shopping wish list? Do you have a Costco membership? Do you have a friend with a membership you can bribe to get it for you? Is it a deal breaker that you can't actually see the horn-loaded speakers on the sides? Let me know in the comments below. As always, be kind to each other out there, especially during this holiday shopping season time. Don't just watch movies and TV shows, experience them. And of course, always be listening. And of course, always be listening.
Always.